This is the 8th of the series of www.survivingmold.com discussions. Richie Shoemaker, MD, will discuss Ciguatera.
In all of the biotoxin syndromes that lead to chronic inflammatory response syndromes, the question's got to be, did I get sick from something I ate? There are a variety of people that feel pretty strongly that eating certain foods will make them sick, from blue cheese to moldy bread to beer or wine. And yet when we look for the data to support these anecdotal findings, it just isn't there. That doesn't mean that the people who are sickened by foods weren't sickened. It means the data to make general recommendations don't have any basis as yet. When we look at Ciguatera, a illness that we know is foodborne, then we have to use that as the basis to compare other claims about foodborne illness. Ciguatera is an illness caused by ingestion of a polycyclic ether toxin called ciguatoxin that's made by little organisms called dinoflagellates in the same group of critters as algae, what have you. But these organisms live symbiotically with small bits of fern-like material on a tropical reef. There, the dinoflagellate will remove heavy metals from the water, which helps the little fern-like material live. Unfortunately, when a fish grazes on the fern-like material, it sucks up the plant and the dinoflagellate nearby. Unfortunately for the fish, the herbivore gets eaten by a predator fish or a piscivore that then says, "Thank you, here's lunch." Now, the ciguatoxin that was initially in the water, then in the herbivore, now is in the bigger fish. And as we go up the food chain, there are approximately 400 different species of fish that live on tropical reefs that contain amounts of ciguatoxin that can be toxic. Ciguatoxin is a compound that's a very low molecular weight structure. It's what we call an ionophore. It moves from cell to cell to cell quickly, but it will bind to a receptor. On neurons, the sodium channel receptor, when bound by ciguatoxin, is one that will let sodium pour into the neuron and potassium leave, rendering all sorts of unusual neurologic symptoms that follow. In addition, we now know that Ciguatera creates a chronic inflammatory response syndrome. As such, the same lab abnormalities that we see, in addition to the unusual symptoms from in Ciguatera, are treated with the same 11-step protocol. If you happen to see an ad for fresh fish from the Gulf of Mexico or Hawaii or Indonesia, just be sure that grouper and snapper and drum and barracuda, correction, not drum, jack, not drum, and barracuda are not necessarily your friends. If you eat those and become deathly ill within 3 to 5 hours with diarrhea and vomiting and feeling faint and headache and fast heart rate and so many neurologic symptoms, be thinking Ciguatera. If that happens to you, try to save some of the fish meal, because the ciguatoxin can be identified with very sophisticated lab procedures later on. We see outbreaks of Ciguatera in groups for the simple reason that many people might have eaten the same fish meal. But you don't have to be on board a cruise ship or visiting in the Caribbean to get Ciguatera. The fish that you bought in the upscale Manhattan restaurant could be ciguatoxic as well. But this illness is the prototype for foodborne biotoxin illness. All claims of other sources of food ingestion causing illness need to be compared to Ciguatera. There's a paper on Ciguatera that our group wrote that's on the Surviving Mold website as a free download. Take a look. Sometimes unusual illnesses are ones that are the best teachers.